Right, I don't know if this is going to make any sense, so bear with me. Somehow, we managed to get a point from that game. But also, we were kind of unlucky not to win it. Make that make sense. Make that statement make sense. Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Rangers Rabble podcast. This is, of course, your match reaction. After Rangers get a draw in Prague, 0-0. As Stu said to me before we started, I don't know how to feel after that. That was 10-0 going on 1-0 to us. So, yeah. Work it out, folks. Work it out. Hello, welcome. Hello, everybody in the chat. Please, if this is your first time here and you haven't already, please, and you're on YouTube, please subscribe. And of course, if everybody watching gives the show a like, then it helps to spread it throughout the YouTube universe and it gets more fans in and seeing the content. I am joined by two new guests, co-presenters, co-hosts, lackeys, Stu and Iain. Stu, explain that, please.
I can't explain it. Someone just said a better team would have punished. I completely agree. We can't. It's a weird one because they puff themselves out in the way they play Sparta. They're very high intensity, and you could see in the second half, 70 minutes on, they'd sort of dropped right off, and that's when we came in and we looked like we might nick it. So it's sort of a tactic, I guess, to let teams punch themselves out, but we can't go into Europe letting teams try to punch themselves out against us because it could have been 3 or 4-0 at some point. We were very, very lucky to be 0-0, and it was one of the worst 45 minutes I've ever watched. That said, the second half was a much better performance. The manager hasn't got a lot of options to what he can do right now, and the players dug in as much as you could want them to, and a point away from home in Europe is always a bonus point, really. So,
listen, Stu.
I don't know how to.
A point after that first half.
Yeah, sure.
Is somehow.
I would have snapped it. I thought before we going into it, I was thinking we'll beat this lot. Like, I don't want to jump the gun on just one performance, but I know they play a very attacking game and they take risks. So I thought we would be able to hurt them on the counter. After 10 minutes, I was thinking if we get away with a draw tonight, we've absolutely stolen something there. But yeah, by the end, like you said, you're sort of disappointed you just didn't win the game.
I know, Iain. Am I supposed to feel angry at the first half performance? Am I supposed to feel happy that eventually we got our act together and we brought on a forward, by the way, who actually looked like he knew how to play the game? We could have won. You don't need disappearing. But yeah, how am I supposed to feel after that 90 odd minutes of football? And when I ask how am I supposed to feel, obviously I'm leaving the ref out of that discussion at the moment.
You can feel upset about the first half performance. You can feel good about the last 20 minutes of that game. You can feel everything you were feeling. Because I don't think anyone can kind of explain how you're supposed to feel after seeing that. It's one of those, isn't it, that you think you're going to get hammered by that first half display because it was just 1 going on 10 at any moment. And then in the second half, it kind of improved a little bit and then got brought into it a little bit more. I don't think that Sparta's changes helped them. I think it was weird they were taking off their most dangerous players. And then to walk away with that point and I can, if I talk about the official, I might actually get us banned from YouTube. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, we've all discussed the official. There's no way not to. That was some horrendous refereeing, but we'll come to that. Right, okay, Stu. Then, why was it so poor in the first half? Why did if not for the heroics of Jack Butland and some poor finishing? Let's be honest. If not for that, it would have been at least 3 or 4 at half time. Why were we so poor?
I think it's a mix. I think it's, Clement's been, I guess you could say, brave in going. Clement. Philippe Clement has been very brave by going with that sort of 3 at the back formation. Whether he thought that it was too much of a risk to just have Davies as a natural left back, don't know. But he's obviously gone quite brave with the free. So the players are sort of playing a formation they're not familiar with. Not, he's not had long with them, and he's clearly trying to get them to do stuff that they're not that comfortable with. One, seemingly being brave on the ball, which he's mentioned in his pressers that he wants people to take risks. And unfortunately, we try so hard not to take risks. We're so worried about taking risks that we actually make mistakes and put ourselves in danger regardless. So the risk is actually, the safer option, I think, for some of our players. Certain players really underperformed tonight, especially in that first 45. And there was just no outball. I mean, Des has worked hard. I think he was trying to close down, but I just don't know. I don't get it with him, to be honest. I've tried to stick up for him, but the ball just bounces off him when it does hit him. He's, for a big guy who seemingly can hold a defender off, he can't keep the ball under control. So that's a waste because you can't use one of your assets. He's not quick, so he can't really. The pressing's good, but it can't really hurt them. So we've got no outball, a formation that the players aren't too familiar with, a lot of injuries, no one being brave on the ball. I think it was just a mix of things, and Sparta, I think, knew that early, and they went for the throat, and they probably should have got their rewards. But like we've been saying for most of this season, Jack Butland has been an absolute superstar signing.
And I'll talk on him in 2 seconds, but Iain, channel member Cammy, moderator Cammy, Rabble legend Cammy, we showed them too much respect. I don't know if it was a case, Iain, that we showed them too much respect, or it was just a case of pretty much everything that Stu just outlined there. And, I don't think showing them too much respect is not being able to pass a ball 5 yards or just panicking under no pressure. I can't put it down to that.
It felt to me a little bit, growing up in the 90s and watching Rangers playing in the Champions League in the 90s, it was back there in that hot potato in the middle of the park. I don't want it, you have it. I don't want it, you have it. I'll just kick it anywhere. And that's what it kind of felt like. And I think their pace up front absolutely terrified our back three to begin with. Because Goldson's lost a few yards. Davies has never been that quick by the looks of it. Suter's the only one who's got a bit of pace about him. But they turn that ball over so quickly and get it up so fast that I think it terrified us, to be honest. And we just didn't know what to do that first 45 minutes. And it was frustrating to watch. Always is, because but we were lucky. I don't really know what else we could say about the first half. We were just incredibly lucky. And if it wasn't for the man between the sticks, they could have been out of sight really, really fast.
Right, okay. You've both mentioned it. Come to you first. Jack Butland is comfortably the best keeper in Scotland. There's no competition for that. It's one of the few things I think that as Rangers supporters we can say with absolute confidence at the moment. He is a top goalkeeper who could easily play at top of that Premier League. And we are so lucky to have that man.
We are very lucky to have that man. And anybody who thinks that 5 million is a decent amount after some of the showings he's had already this season is something that we should be looking at accepting, needs to go and give the head a bit of a shake and maybe think about adding another 5 million at least onto that. And particularly the club that are supposedly interested in him as well. But the man pulls off some saves. He saves us more often than not and has done. I mean, even against PSV, I know we're not going backwards all the time, but PSV, it was 5-1 going on 10 that night. If it wasn't for Butland, it would have been nearer 10. He's done it again tonight. I mean, that double save, yeah, the second boy should bury it, but you've got to be there as a goalkeeper to get down to save the first one, back up, in place to save the second one. I'm not saying I'm a goalkeeper on his level, but I play 5-a-sides on a Monday, and if I make a save like that, I'd probably do a lap of honour, to be perfectly honest. One, just to get my aging body up off the floor that quick. That double save for me was outstanding. And I'd probably accept Shaggo could probably do it, but there's not many keepers that are going to get up that quick and make that save like that. That was superb.
It's one of the few positives, Stu, that we've had this season, to be brutally honest with you, and a season that has had many, many, many negatives. Jack Butland just keeps impressing.
Yeah, he's one of the sort of 3 players that we were linked to that I really, really wanted this season. And considering one of them was Dess's, I was hoping my strike rate wasn't going to be completely horrendous. So I'm glad he's sort of outweighed Dess's poorness by being as amazing as he is. Yeah, like Ian said, they probably should score the follow up at least, but he's still got to make the save. It's still coming at him at some pace, and he's just recovering from the initial save. So it was world class. He made a couple of saves as well that they sort of looped downwards, and he's not only gone down, but he sort of dragged them out with that sort of, it's like that, the ball of his fist almost, isn't it? And then he just sort of gets that punch as he goes down, and it just clears the ball out to safety a little bit. And some keepers get down so quickly, almost stop it dead, and sometimes that's a problem because you get the follow up. He just manages to get the ball clear as well as save it, and it's such a massive asset to have. He's obviously a huge presence in terms of his physicality, like a big 6'5" goalkeeper that can get down well. There's not many of them about. He's probably not the sweeper keeper necessarily, the ball at your feet keeper that is perfect, but if he was, he'd be one of the best keepers in the world. He does enough. He came out quick. He recognises danger as well. He came out and stopped a really, really dangerous attack by just recognising how dangerous that was in that moment. Got it clear. Just outstanding. 10 out of 10 for me again. And I feel like I've probably said that about 7 or 8 times, which you don't really want to say that about your keeper throughout the season, that he's been the best player on the pitch that often when you're Rangers. But listen, I'd rather have him than not. So yeah, he's an absolute winner in my books, and I wouldn't care if it was 15 million at this stage. I don't think we'd ever be able to replace. It was always going to be hard to replace McGregor anyway. We've always been blessed with very good goalkeepers. We're now blessed with another one. I wouldn't take the risk that we were going to strike lucky again. I would just be looking at keeping him for the next 5-6 years, if I'm honest.
Our very own Graham always likes to put a wee dampener on things, does your Graham? Technically, the 2 saves he makes, he should be putting them out wide. So let's not get too carried away. If the second chance goes in, it's Butland's fault. For regular viewers of the Rangers Rabble, you will understand the point that I'm about to make. If you offered me right now Jack Butland or Onana, I know exactly who I'm picking as a goalkeeper. So, Manchester United let the wrong one go, in my opinion, and they brought the wrong one in. I wouldn't be having a go at Jack Butland with Onana as your goalkeeper. That's all I'm going to say on that. Is there anything the manager could have done differently, Iain, in the first half to try and kind of stem the tide of pressure? Or was it just a case of we've got to try, from the manager's point of view, I've got to try and see this out and let them get used to this formation?
There was no way to change it unless you're bringing on a lad and Adam Devine to put him on the left-hand side again, which is not his natural position. At least Davies has got the left-footedness, if that's even a word, that can have him play there, and the 3 at the back. And I know that we've had managers in the past where 3 at the back hasn't worked for 6 minutes, so we'll change it and put it back to this, or we'll get Lundstrom and we'll drop him back just to give him a bit of cover, etc. He could easily have done that, but he was like, no, I'm going to stick to my convictions and we'll get through it. We'll be fine. We just need a little bit more of this and a little bit more of that. And to be fair to him, it's at the end of the day, it's paid off. So sticking by his convictions and going, we can do this. We can play this system. You're just going to have to get used to it as we go through this 90 plus minutes. It has worked in the end. So fair play to him for that. And I think they did have an issue with it. You could tell Goldson and Suter in particular weren't really comfortable with the 3 at the back. Davies has played 3 at the back before, so it kind of gets in there. But they got through it, and that's all we can ask them to do. We rode our luck at times, but they got through it. So not much. I don't think he could have done a great deal to change it because we didn't have that many options to change it.
Do you go along with that, Stu? I mean, if you're looking at the bench, I mean, the only substitution in my mind that I could think of in the first half was bringing Lammers off and bringing Devine on, but then you're putting a lot of pressure on young Devine then, and that obviously changing it back to a back 4.
Yeah, during the game, I kept thinking he's got to change this, but when you look at the bench, there just wasn't too many options. There were positions that you could change, but not necessarily ones that would help the cause, so to speak. Maybe Dess is off with Danilo early, but again, it doesn't change the game the control we didn't have in the middle of the park. So I don't know. I think a couple of players were really uncomfortable in that formation, especially at the back. But I think the only change we could have maybe made is just to go for the flat four with Davies at left back. I think Sima proved that he'd be capable of covering him anyway. But that said, I just think the manager, I think his thought process was, we're not struggling here because we're not as good as them. We're struggling here because we're not doing the right things. And that was the cause for me. Raskin was giving balls away quite a lot again. I thought Cantwell played really well, actually. He was sort of the one putting in the graft constantly, and he always does. And you can see he was shattered when he came off. But that's what every player needs to be doing when you're in Europe, especially because you've got to reach the levels. And I think Lundstrom and Raskin, you can't have your midfielders really dipping in these games because you need to control that middle of the park. We weren't doing that. A few of the defence, Tav, I thought, had a really, really shocking first half. But that said, he did keep his sort of faith in them. We only made the 2 real changes in the game, and the players sort of came up quite big, I thought, in the second half. I don't think I could really have a bad word to say about any. I mean, individual moments, Lundstrom playing a really lazy pass in the second half that gave the ball away, or Goldson's sort of half-assed clearance. But apart from that, the actual performance-wise for the second half, especially sort of 65, 70 minutes onwards, I thought every player sort of stood up, and hopefully it's these little baby steps, these little progressional, like incremental, like steps we're taking towards becoming a team that are willing to go toe to toe and willing to take risks. Because if we play like that first half, then it's not a case of, you will lose games if you play like that in the first half, but these players won't be here to see anything like that happen, because I think this guy will be ruthless, and I think he'll say, if you're not willing to play my way and take the risks that I want you to take, then you're not part of my team. And I think we'll probably see a little bit of movement in January just based off that, because I think he's probably making assumptions already on what he needs in and what he's going to have to leave if we're going to play the way he wants us to play.
Right. Let's discuss it, because there's a couple more. I think there's a few more negatives we can probably talk about, but then I want to talk about the positives of how we actually managed to get ourselves back into the game, and looked as if we could possibly go on and win it in the end, which would have been one of the most tremendous results I've seen in a long time. But still, come straight back to you, the referee. It's one of the most shocking refereeing performances that I've seen, without a mistake leading to anything to, cause a goal or really change the game. But just individual decisions, what he was given free kicks for, what he was given yellow cards for. I suppose he did affect the game in a way because of the decisions that he was given. It was stopping the game, it was slowing the game up, it was changing certain things within it. But in general, that referee, wow, he was awful.
One of the worst refs I think I've ever seen. Like you said, it was baffling that you can come here and talk about a ref being so poor and then not actually influencing a big moment in the game. It was just so strange, the decision. Like early on, I mean, it's Europe, right? You're expecting players to go down easy, and you're expecting the ref to buy a lot of free kicks, which I think he was doing. He only seemed to be doing it one way quite a lot, I was noticing. There was one in was it the first, or I think it was second half, where we sort of clear a ball out, and Lammers goes to meet it, and the guy accidentally trips Lammers up, and Lammers goes sprawling, and the ref just tells him to get up. And then up the other end, Dessers puts his hand on someone while he's got the ball. The guy falls to the floor, and it's a free kick. And I think you saw it sort of, it came to a head when Sima sort of that 6-1, half dozen of the other challenge. Yeah, possibly a free kick, but he's so quick to just give it straight against Sima. You can see Sima's frustration when he throws that ball down, because he's just so frustrated at how poor that ref's been. Like you said, the bookings as well. I thought, Cantwell's, I could see why he gave that. Maybe I didn't think it was a foul on first view, but I could see that maybe a bit reckless. You possibly give that. But some of the other ones, Goldson's booking was never a booking. Lundstrom's foul that was given against him at the end, where, I mean, it was a shocking piece of play from us, because we actually played 2 passes there that were second touch tackles. Like both of them, It was a poor touch, slide tackle to Lundstrom, poor touch, slide tackle to Wright, whoever it was. But there was nothing wrong with it. He doesn't touch the bloke, and to somehow give a foul and a yellow card, and then up the other end of the pitch, there was the one where Lammers turns in the middle of the pitch. Boy pulls his shirt back, stops the attack, free kick, no booking, and it just there was no consistency whatsoever. It was such a weird performance to watch from the ref, and as the game went on, he seemed to just be making more and more baffling decisions, and I don't know if he was just in a hole of bad decisions and he just couldn't get himself out, so he just kept making more. But you would hope that, and we know it doesn't happen, but you would hope that UEFA look at that and say, right, you don't get a Europa League or a Champions League match the next round because that's not good enough. That's not the performance we want from our referees, because they should be held accountable for. Everyone's going to make mistakes, but that was just 0 out of 10 performance from a referee.
Iain, 0 out of 10's been kind for me. Look, we got some we got some bad decisions. I don't want to say dodgy because it makes it sound as if there's more behind it, but we got some decisions that we shouldn't have got. Sparta got a lot of decisions that they shouldn't have got. Stu references there. The one that sticks in your mind straight away is the Lundstrom, not even a tackle. He stretches to get the ball and passes the ball, and the boy jumps over his leg, goes down. Seen that a lot. So your opinion on the ref, but also your opinion on the fact that we should be used to it by now. And I don't think we play the game as well as European teams do. But Sparta were on the floor every 2 minutes, screaming and greeting, in agony, rolling about. It was constant.
I'll say the nicer of the two comments I put in the group chat, because I think the first one might get shut down. But that ref made our refs look competent, which is a really difficult thing to do. One that sticks out.
Sorry, for a fact that Willie Collins sitting watching that going, see, I'm not that
bad. Clancy's just been offered a new contract at Celtic Park and that sort of deal. But one that sticks out for me was Suter in the first half. He wins the ball. Yeah, he's stretching to get it, but he wins the ball, and then the player sort of runs into his knee, and Suter's the one that ends up giving the foul away and getting booked. And there was a couple of them like that. And it just seemed to me that every time they went down and shouted, they got a free kick for it, and we got a booking, or for some pointless reason they would get a free kick. And then, like Stu said, that guy pulls his shirt, which every single day in every league across the world is a booking, and it's not given. And he was just an awful, awful referee. And we give refs a hard time most of the time, but he is terrible. And if I never see him again, it'll be too soon. But we can complain about it, we can shout about it, but next week you can guarantee somewhere in Europe that he will be refereeing a UEFA Champions League, Europa League, or conference game somewhere, and somebody else will have to deal with him.
Yeah, and which is a shame. Which is a shame whoever gets him, by the way. That he'll only be pointed out as being that bad if you ever got a biggish game in the Champions League or something like that, and he put in a performance like that. But hey ho. Stu, half time. And of course, I'm thinking, I would imagine you, Iain, everybody watching us, everybody in the chat is thinking, this could be anything when we come out this second half. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, I just turn the TV off. No, I've got a reaction to do. I need to watch this second half. And for the first 20, 25 minutes of the second half, it was much the same, although Sparta weren't as attacking, but we weren't really in it. And then from about 75 minutes on, we just came right back into the game.
Yeah, we were. I felt like that first 10 minutes of the second half, we could not get out. And it was one of them things that, when we got the ball, no one could really put a foot on it. They were just lumping it to no one. Couple of chances for a pass, and we were just, I think, so worried about conceding, we were just clearing our lines. And it just kept coming back and back. It felt like it was the 89th minute and they were throwing the kitchen sink at us at times. And we were just trying to repel every attack. And it was like the 48th minute. It was not good to watch. But like I said, I think, Sparta are obviously very attacking. They're set up to be very attacking, which you have to admire, especially in Europe as well. Much different to the Sparta we faced, I felt, before. I think we can get at them, especially I think they'll take those risks back at Ibrox as well. So I think there will be joy for us to be had. But in this game, I think once you've gone that deep into the match, playing as we had, we almost had to wait for them to puff out. There was just nothing else for it. We weren't going to turn that game in the 50th minute and start playing wonderful football. It just wasn't going to happen. So I think we made the right decision in terms of just staying compact and trying to pick our moments. And then once we got one moment or two moments forward, played some nice stuff. I think Wright and Danilo obviously made a huge difference when they come on. Wright's decision making isn't the best, but he was really worrying them with his pace, just being a bit more direct, that Sima couldn't do too often, mainly because of the position he was playing. So yeah, it was once we sort of got a bit of confidence, I guess, their sort of momentum died, their fitness died down a little bit, and all of a sudden we were, you know, we probably should have won the game at the end. The keeper pulls off two quality saves. I mean, Lammers, that's a really good save. It doesn't look like, it looks like a routine save almost when he hits it, but when you see it from the other angle, it's a great save. And the Danilo one is
It's an even better save.
Yeah, I know that's down his throat almost, but if he doesn't put his hands up, it's rocket in the top corner, like the top of the net, basically. So to even get his hands up that quickly to turn that away was outrageous. That was a world class save. Yeah, it was just to go from 15 shots against one at half time, or even after 60 minutes or something, it was to some point in the second half, it was 15 shots to 10. It was like a complete role reversal. It just showed the way the game changed. And like I said, I don't want to go too much into this whole, wow, we should do that away at Betis and things like that and go a little punch, because we can't, we will be punished. But I think we went so far today, it was probably just the right tactic to keep it going. The defense had a lot of confidence. I think that's one thing. We let them in a couple of times in the first half, but I thought the second half, the defense were on it. And I thought John Suter had a really, really good game back there.
I thought Ben Davies.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was going to say Suter had a really good game. He snuffed everything out, and he was good in starting attacks. Ben Davies defensively, I thought, was superb. There was one block he had in the second half where he comes across from sort of left to right back and blocks it. And yeah, it was just, I thought the defense were really good in the second half. I thought the whole team were pretty good in the second half. So it's building blocks. It's something to I feel weird saying the word positive, but it's something to take positives out of again for Rangers, and that's what I'm hanging. I'm just wiping the first 45 minutes from my memory.
Character building, you could almost say.
Yeah,
Can't remember. Kieran Edward, we rode our luck and got something from the game. I think we got a good outcome for the circumstances. Yeah, we did. But at the same time, you're still sitting here going, but we could have won it. Even though that was such an absolutely horrendous first half. All right, some individual performances then, Iain. Obviously, we'll come to Danilo and Scott right a bit later. But for those who started the game, Stu mentioned it there. I thought Suter and I thought Davies were really good. Connor Goldson for me, more than I've probably seen him in the past, going down awfully easy. Was getting beat in a lot of physical challenges for me. Not the best from Goldson.
No, and he seems to have lost more than a yard of pace as well. I mean, there was a few times in that game where he's chasing it. Right, a couple of times he's got to the ball and put it out, but the confidence in him getting to it is gone. I mean, Connor of a couple of seasons ago gets to pretty much every single one of them and has an easy night, doesn't even break a sweat. But he seems to have lost that 2 yards of pace. He doesn't. I don't know if he's got any confidence in himself now.
Is that a fair comment, Iain? He was blowing out his arse after 20 minutes.
I think a lot of our players were probably blowing out their arse after 20 minutes for the amount of work they were having to do, to be fair. I mean, that first 20 minutes, even because tonight, my little boy watched a game with me and it panned in on Suter, who was sweating like nobody sweats on this earth. And he was like, "Is it hot over there?" I was like, "No, it's the Czech Republic, mate. Probably freezing." And he's just working really hard. But come the end of the game, he looked like he was running in cement at some points, Goldson. He's just lost. I mean, it happens, obviously, over time. You know, you can't maintain that pace. We're not all Cristiano Ronaldo. You can still sprint like he sprints. But he's had to go to the Saudi league to make him still look as quick as he used to be. So it happens over time. But I think he's not proved that he's not given himself any help in saying that he should be a first pick centre-back for us. So I think out of the three, if you were going to drop one tomorrow, you're looking at Goldson to sit out and Suter and Davies take over as the back two, which you wouldn't have said that this time last year after the Celtic game, what happened there. But it's looking more and more like that currently with what we've got on offer.
Can we put that performance then, Stu? I'm not saying he was terrible, but if you were asking me to rate the three centre backs in order of who was better, Goldson for me would be in third place. Can we put that down to the formation or anything like that, or am I wrong? Was Goldson actually quite good at? Just because I say it doesn't mean it's true.
I don't think he was very good, to be honest. I think Goldson's one of these guys where we're going to need him until the end of the season. Maybe the manager will get something out of him and he'll go beyond that. But I just think he's part of this cluster of Rangers players that probably need to move on, just for freshness and everything else. He's been a great servant, but time catches up with everyone. You don't see Goldson in too many foot races, if I'm honest, because he never really should be involved in foot races because of the way we play. It's the first time I've seen him in one in a long time, and he looked slow. He looked really, really slow, which was really worrying. I didn't think he was bad. I thought he did a fine job. Obviously, there was moments that weren't great, but there were moments for everyone that weren't great. So I don't think he had a bad game. I think in comparison to the other two, I thought Suter and Davis both had good games overall. So that's the only difference. I agree with you that if you had to drop one of the three, I would drop Goldson, but I don't think he will, because I think at least until January, the manager isn't going to upset the apple cart too much, because we need these players. And I think that proved in the first game against Hibs. He didn't go and drop everyone, and everyone was like, oh, he's still playing Lundstrom. You need these guys. We've got no one else really to bring in if something goes bad. And if you play with Davis and Suter, who have both struggled with injury, and one of them goes out and then you bring in Goldson in, I just don't think it works. I think Goldson is always that reliable defender, and at least until January, he still needs to be. Someone said there, Goldson commands it. He does. He probably is the commander of that back line. I don't think he's the best at it, but you do notice it when he's not there. I Suter can do it, but I don't think he does it to the same level as someone like Connor Goldson does. So it's a 50-50 for me in terms of, I don't think Goldson was bad tonight, but I just think long term he's not the centre back I want at the club. I'd hope we'd go out and get a younger, fitter, faster centre back. And then listen, I mean, if it was that easy, I know we'd already have one. But it's just, I just think the old guard's time is coming to an end at Rangers, and I'm not going to point too many fingers tonight, because I don't think they did too much wrong tonight, apart from obviously I thought Tav had a bad first half, but I thought he was good in the second. So yeah, it's for me, it's just I don't want to like sing. I'm trying to stay positive in Clement's new in the new era of Clement. So I'm not going to go pointing too many fingers right now. But I think long term, Goldson is definitely not the future of this club.
I'm not 100% happy with the way you said Clement, but I've not got time to keep. I've not got time to keep instructing you on how to pronounce it. Iain, Abdallah Sima again. The guy. This is what it's so difficult to try and explain to people who aren't Rangers supporters that, see, even if you don't have the best game in terms of what you do with the ball, and I'm not saying Abdallah had a bad game in any stretch, but see if you put in 100% effort and you give 100% commitment to that shot, the Rangers fans will love you. And that's now 3 or 4 games in a row, I think, that, albeit his output with the ball and chances created wasn't great because of the position that he was asked to play. But nobody in a Rangers shirt ran more or tried harder tonight than Abdallah Sima.
No, if you're outfield players, he is possibly the best player on the pitch tonight of the outfield players. Closely run by Cantwell, because Cantwell put in a ton of effort as well. But he, on that side of the pitch he was playing on the left side, he just up and down there all night long. His defensive work was superb. I think if you'd given a little bit more time up the top, if he had a bit more time, he may have nicked it for us. But you take your chances as they come. They want that many for him tonight. But I'm not allowed to fall in love with lone players. It's not happening. But secretly, don't tell anyone, I've fallen in love with a lone player again. So if there is a deal that we can do, I would love us to do it. I just can't see it. I just think he's going to be out of our price bracket. But yeah, he just ran his ran his socks off tonight, put in the effort which we all want to see. And if we had 11 people that did exactly the same thing, or 10 outfield players that did exactly the same thing, we'd be sitting here, no doubt, talking about a win tonight. Because if we had 10 more Cantwells and Simas to pick from, we'd destroy teams with their work effort and all the rest of it and the things they can do. It's just a shame for us. It didn't pan out for him. He had another good game. That's all you can ask for him to do, though, to do what he done tonight. Not hide, get in there, get in their faces. And no doubt, him being an ex-Slavia player did have its ups for him tonight, because no doubt he wants to get one over on Sparta just because of where he played. There are comments coming in the comment section saying that Cantwell will run around like a headless chicken, but he was one of our better performers. You can't say that he wasn't. I think he nutmegged 3 players in a row at one point and broke off upfield. And without him tonight in that first half, particularly, I think we may have come up a cropper. So, but everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everyone sees the game differently. So if that's how they feel, that's how they feel. I'm not going to change their mind. But yeah, Sima, for me, again, another potential man of the match performance for him tonight. Superb.
I'll come to Cantwell in a wee second. But it's really difficult when you fall in love with a player to break away from that, because Sibo still won't return my calls, and it's been so many years, but I still love that man. So it's really difficult when you fall in love with a player. Managers are different, but with players, it's really, really difficult. Stu, before we come to Cantwell, if we'd have left back tonight, Sima does damage.
Yeah, 100%. I think he does. He's obviously someone that thrives on confidence. He's one of these guys, because you could see early on in the season, and listen, you can blame the formation of the manager earlier in the season. I get that, but he looked like he'd never seen a football at times. We were calling him a sort of downgrade on Sakala, and now it's sort of swung back the opposite way because he's got the confidence. Brighton's scouting department don't tend to pick too many duds, so you were hopeful when we were getting Sima that, especially after he had a good performance against us for Slavia Prague as well, that we were getting a good player. It just obviously took him time to adapt to the league and getting his confidence up. And now he's got it. He's absolutely flying. The only surprise is that he didn't score tonight, because he obviously he's absolutely addicted to scoring for us at the moment. I don't know what you've done with this camera, by the way. It's throwing me right out.
I thought I would try a different angle.
He's superb, and like Iain said, his work ethic was tremendous all night, along with Cantwell, who, I didn't see Cantwell win too many headers. Might explain the headless chicken, but apart from that, he was absolutely excellent. I thought Cantwell, the 3 little nutmegs that Iain was on about, it was the same skill every time, and he'd done every single one of them with the same move. It was absolutely quality. Listen, these players aren't going to play perfect. They're not going to play world class every single game, but they've got moments in them, and all you can ask is, outside of those moments, they're putting effort in. And like Iain said, if we've got players that are putting effort in, like Cantwell and like Sima, you've won half the battle. Cantwell was covering in the first half, or I think it was the second half actually. There was a little break down the left-hand side, and the boy's about to cross it, and Cantwell's come flying from out of nowhere to try and block it out for a corner, because 2 of our players have gone to sleep and not tracking runners. That's what Cantwell gives you, and you need that energy, because I don't think we have it in too many other players. And I'm not saying, Lindstrom is a bad player, or this other player is a bad player, but they don't give you that energy that Cantwell or Sima give you, and we need more of that, because if we're going to play attacking football and we're going to play high energy football and win turnovers up the pitch, we need players with a lot of energy, a lot of pace, that can then do damage in those dangerous moments. Because if we win the ball high up and the ball falls to John Lundstrom, are you trusting him to pick a penetrating pass? No, he's probably not going to pick it. So I'm absolutely just read those comments. That's absolutely done me. But yeah, overall, I thought Sima was excellent. I thought Cantwell was excellent, and then outside that, it wasn't too much to pick from.
Do you know, I think I would be terrified to meet Iain outside. David, sorry. I would be terrified to meet David outside. Stu's currently at the... What is it? What did he say? What did he say? Stu currently the meat in a Martin and Iain sandwich. That's why that camera angle was changed. All right, I went for a different camera angle. But yeah, we'll stick with this one. We absolutely will. Stu, just really quickly. I've seen quite a few comments about this, about Sima. maybe I'm completely wrong here, right? I get he's only got a year left in his contract. And when I say quickly, I mean quickly, right? Because I know that you and Iain can drag on a bit when you're talking, right? There's no way we can afford Sima on a full-time deal, is there? No way.
No, absolutely not. I think Brighton paid about 7 million or something, didn't they? Up to 7 million for him. They won't be giving us a cut price deal on a young player with big potential. So best you could hope for was probably getting him back on loan next season, but absolutely 100% will not be.
Well, is this not? Is he got a year
No,
after?
he's got a year after this year.
Yeah. So that's not going to happen. Iain Cantwell then been mentioned, headless chicken. For me, I thought even though we were poor, I thought he was excellent. His ability on the ball. If we had 2 or 3 more players round about that had the same ability as him, we might not have been as tragic as we were in that first half. He's covering as well. And this is a guy who you can clearly see is still trying to regain match sharpness. He is nowhere near sharp, his full sharpness, sorry. So I don't think, I think Headless Chicken's extremely unfair. And like Stu, I thought he was one of our better players. And he had to be taken off to protect him simply because A, he's not fit enough, and B, that ref, he would have ended up sent off.
Yeah, I mean, there was one point in that second half where he goes chasing the ball into the corner and slides in, and I absolutely bricked it because I thought if he touches him, he's gone. Even if it literally just his shoelace had touched him, and he would have been sent off. But luckily he didn't, and he was. But if that is a player that is not at full fitness, then it's a scary thought when he gets back to 100%. And again, if Raskin and him were playing at the same levels they were playing last year, then our midfield will be a completely different story. Raskin seems to be off it a little bit. He has, he did little bits here and there. I'm sorry, throw me there, Aldo. I don't get the reference at all. Maybe Stu can enlighten us on that one. I don't know. But
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones reference.
I've only ever seen Game of Thrones for half an hour. Then I had to turn it off because my little one come in the room.
You had to turn it off to go and protect the wall.
I was with Jack Ryan saving the world.
Yeah.
Where was I? Cantwell. Oh yeah, nothing wrong with Cantwell's display tonight. He was for what he was. He's only got 75% of his fitness currently. Then bring on the 100% Todd Cantwell. I can't wait for him to come back to full fitness because he'll just tear everything apart for me. He was one of our better players. Took him off. He got tired. It's not unexpected. He's had 6 weeks off, not playing at all, so it's difficult to come back in. Thought he did well considering it was his first start, and carried on from where he left off on the weekend. So yeah, fair play to him. And one of only a couple really who got had a really good game tonight.
That comment really threw you, Iain, didn't it?
Absolutely destroyed me.
Oh, God.
Oh, by the way, can we talk about Ben Davies taking corners?
I mean, yeah. Can we? Just before we do, somebody told me that I looked like somebody who was on Game of Thrones, one of the fat ones. I don't know who it was because I didn't really watch that much. I just seen bits and bobs episodes that my missus watched. But apparently I looked like some fat guy that was in Game of Thrones, which is always nice to be told. Yeah, Iain, Ben Davies taking corners. What's all that about?
I don't know. I looked up and I just went, well, that's not Tav. Because you just
maybe, and this is just a theory. Maybe they were fed up with Tav constantly hitting the first man, so they got Ben Davies in to once
hit the last man,
overhit it, and hit the last man, and then kept constantly hit the first man. I don't know.
I think he had one good corner. I think he got one into the centre of the box, which was better than Tav, because I think Tav took over corner duties again, and it was first man. So it was just I looked up and saw Davies, and I was like, oh, no, surely not. Can nobody else be bothered to run out there or what? Because that's not right. I mean, your centre back surely should not be taking.
To be fair, Borna usually takes a corner. Can take corners, can't he? So maybe they were just saying, right, well, it's usually Borna with an in-swinger to the left hand side. So we'll just send Davies because he's got a left foot.
Maybe, but then it's out-swinging corners from someone who doesn't take a corner. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of out-swinging corners anyway. I don't think they really do a great deal of damage. I'd much prefer swinging them in and getting them dangerously close to the keeper to see if they flap. But maybe a little bit too much like Kevin Thompson on that side because he moaned every single time there was an out-swinging corner tonight there on TNT. So it was just shocking. I wasn't expecting to see it. And but it was, I don't know, a bit of it was a little bit refreshing because it wasn't Tav. So you can't win, really, can you?
Apparently, it was Jon Snow's best pal on the wall, whatever that means. And Richie, our very own Richie, looks like Deirdre Barlow, apparently. Whoever Deirdre Barlow is. I really don't know. Stu froze there when I said Deirdre Barlow. I don't know what that was all about. Yeah, I think that's enough said about centre-backs taking when they should probably be in the box, trying to score from headers. But there we go. Stu, very quickly touch on this because I do want to leave some conversations for tomorrow night for the phone in. Cyril Dessers. Discuss.
I think I've finally got to admit that he's awful. I stuck up for him long enough. I really thought that goal against Hibs would do him the world of good, but it's just, I don't know. He looks like he's carrying an injury, but he's looked like he's carrying an injury since the moment we've signed him. He's got no mobility, and it's not the player I've seen before he signed for us. I've got no idea what's happened to him since I see. He used to have this little, like his little trademark move would be getting the ball and spinning, a bit like Morelos used to do. I was looking I thought we've signed Morelos as replacement here, and he can barely control the ball. Every ball seems to bounce off him. The only moment he was a bit unlucky when the lad went down when he had the ball in the box and went down claiming it, and the ref obviously gave them a foul. That was a bit unlucky, but yeah, apart from that, he just didn't. The things that Dessers has been good at for me is winning those flick-ons. He didn't get too many of those tonight, and listen, it was a tough ask in the first half because we gave him zero service. But the times we did get forward, you can't give the ball to him and get men forward because the ball won't stick to him like it did to Morelos. You knew you could hit a ball into Morelos and then he can hold the ball to get men forward. Dessers can't really do that. And whether that's us not being able to play the way that suits Dessers, I don't know. But from what he's shown and what Danilo has shown in the short time Danilo gives us, yeah, maybe Dessers is an option, but he's certainly not a starting option for me.
No, listen, sorry, Stu, but see this, we don't play the way that suits Dessers. He shot himself 2 or 3 times when he was through on goal, when the goalkeeper was coming out and he had a chance to go for the ball.
Oh, yeah, so I'm not...
Reactions are terrible.
I'm just saying whether that is, whether there's a perfect formation that suits Dessers and that's what you get the most out of. I'm not saying that's the way we're ever going to play. Maybe that's a reason that he's completely changed from the player that I've seen before. I don't know. I don't like this thing that he seems to do now where he goes down claiming faint pushes and then argues with the ref for some reason, even though it's blatantly obvious that he's not been touched. He's done it a couple of times this season. It's just a weird thing that I don't know if it's sort of desperation from him because he knows he's not having a good game, and I think it's hard because he's, like I say, he didn't get the service. He didn't get a lot of service under Bill, and he didn't get a lot of service tonight. But that said, anytime Danilo's played, he's at least impressed slightly or a lot. And if other players can come play the same position of you and do it to a decent level, then there's no reason why you shouldn't. And if you're not, then you'll be out. And I think as soon as Danilo is 100% fit, he will be our starting striker, unless we get to January and we sign wingers and we play Sima through the middle. But I think Dessers' days of being Rangers number 9 are fast coming to an end.
The best way to describe Dessers is the way that David P has. Dessers plays like a retired footballer in Soccer Aid. And that is genuinely the best description I have heard. And Iain, I don't even know how to talk about Danilo's performance when he came on, because I don't know how well he played, because the substitution was made, he comes on for Dessers, and compared to how Dessers played, Danilo looked like prime fucking Ronaldinho, pardon my French. So it's really difficult to discuss Danilo's performance when he came on, because doing anything would have made you look better than Dessers.
To be fair, Scott Wright did more than Dessers. But Danilo, when he came on, he was doing the things you want your striker to do. He's dropping a bit deeper to get the ball, turning on it, giving...
Move.
Yeah, there is that. Dropping deeper to get the ball, turning on it and trying to play others in, and then getting himself into a position. He looked a far more dangerous threat in the box than Dessers ever does. Oh dear. Cammy,
Sorry,
careful
that
what you
wasn't.
say.
I was pointing at Cammy to say that's
I
banging it
know.
up.
Oh, I know your feelings for SIBO. I mean, the court order telling you to stop contacting him should be enough, but no.
No.
And really unlucky not to score, as we touched on earlier on. I mean, if not for that keeper, I don't think that net's even holding the ball. I think the net, the ball, the lot ends up in the crowd. So, for me, he starts at the weekend, and if he doesn't, then maybe Dessers is another one who's got some pictures of somebody on the board, much like Scott Wright for still being at the club. Martin's left us. That's us just being used to.
It
Let the fun
is.
begin.
What did you make of Tav's performance then tonight, Ian? I mean, listen, defensively, he's never been the best. We know this. But offensively, where he's supposed to actually help us out, I thought he struggled a bit at times tonight as well. The one moment where we finally had a little bit of good attacking play, some nice little passing moves. Ball went to him. His cross failed to beat the first man. Came out, nice little move. Ball went to him and he ran it out of play. What was your sort of thoughts overall on Tav and maybe where his future lies with us?
To sum it up for Tav, I didn't even bother saying, for fuck's sake, Tav, because that's just past that point now, isn't it, really? I think every time Tav touches the ball and does something now, it's followed up with for fuck's sake, Tav. So I've given that up. The couple of corners he got on as that first man. This is going to hit the first man, and he did that. I mean, the free kick he took was so far out.
Say that really quickly.
No. He took that. It was so far out. I don't know if he thought he could do what he did against Dundee United again, but that's not something you should be shooting with. I mean, the fact that the ref moved it like 15 yards further back from where the foul took place is neither here nor there. That's the other foot played into the box, I think. And if you are going to shoot, aim for the other corner because the goalkeeper knew exactly where he was going. So I think again, it's 8 years he's been with us, and he's done some good things. You can't discredit everything he's done. I mean, that run in the Europa League to the final, without him, we don't get there. 55 and all the rest of it, all the good stuff, it's all there. But again, as age gets to you, you slow down, you're not as good or whatever, you lose a yard of pace. And I think the time is right. It'll probably be the end of the season more than January, but the time is right to either have him step back a little bit and be the squad player and not a guaranteed starter, or to say, thanks for your service, mate, but we're going to look for someone else to fill that spot. Your time's up. If we get an offer, you're off.
Unless we bring somebody in, but that won't happen because Sterling can't stay fit, and I don't think the club or the manager or whatever seen enough of Devine yet to make that decision on whether he would play him over Tav. Just finally then, Stu, in terms of context of the result and where that leaves the group, obviously Betis winning 1-0 over in Limassol, so Betis on top in 6 points. Us and Sparta on 4, Limassol on 3. Not the worst result then, in terms of the context of the group.
No. As I say, any point away from home is a pretty decent point in this level. I think if obviously it was the Conference League, you're probably looking for a bit more. But I think Europa League, maybe we wanted more out of Aris, but we knew we were on a bit of a hiding to nothing with the situation we were in. I'm pretty pleased with the point, especially after the way the game started. And you go into the return fixture. If you can win that one, then you're almost, as long as Betis do the job you'd expect them to do, you're pretty much guaranteed Europe after Christmas, which is what we want. We obviously want that to be Europa League, but even if it is Conference League, we want that income of European football. So it's put us in a good position in the group. We've played 2 away games now out of the 3, so we've now got obviously 2 home games and an away game to come. So we're in a strong position. It's just now, on paper we're where we want to be considering the poor result we had. Really good result against Betis, and then all in our hands, which is what you want. It's just shame that if we'd made moves earlier, then maybe we could be top of this group already and probably looking at pretty much have been qualified by now, more or less. Not happened that way, but we're still in a really good position. So I'm pretty happy with right now.
I mean, if you look at it, Ian, 3 games, 4 points, joint second, 1-1, drew 1, lost 1. The 2 games at home are against Slavia and obviously Aris, and then you've got the away game against Betis. You really, like Stu says, you beat Aris at home, you beat Sparta at home, you're pretty much guaranteed to be qualified. Not saying that that's a given by any stretch of the imagination, but what you don't want is you don't want that final game away to Betis and you need to get something from it.
No, definitely not. And if we can turn that result, so if we can get a 3-0 against Aris at Ibrox as well, that works in our favour. Just any win against Sparta does us a massive favour. And then you're just looking at it's either, okay, we go into that last game, still a point behind Betis, for example. Right, if we win it, we can win the group. If we don't, then we can qualify in second, much like we did. We've done previously. So home games away, you've got to get your 3 points. Like Stu says, any point away from home is a good point in Europe. At the start of tonight, if you'd offered me a point and not played, I'd have took it. So as much as I like to win every game, European football, if you can get a point away, I'm happy with that. So should have enough in us. And obviously, as the weeks go by, more and more of Clement Clement has more impact in the team. Therefore, we should hopefully be getting better and better. And the guy's only had two weeks to really work with us at best. So the more and more he gets his style of play and what he wants to do, the better.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what happens.
I mean, under Gio, we lost 1-0 at Sparta and beat them 2-1. Was it 3-1? I can't remember. At Ibrox, we beat them anyway.
Gerard was still in charge when we lost.
Was it Gerard? Sorry, my head. But there we go. So yeah, so it's an improvement. And listen, nobody's going to sit here and have any sort of go at the manager at all for that poor performance in the first half. But it's still very, very early days. That's 2 games for Clement. A win and a draw, and a draw and a tricky away tie in Europe as well. So things are looking up. We will be back tomorrow night, 7:30 for the Rangers Rabble phone-in. We've had our say. Tomorrow night, you can have your say. We will obviously have more reaction tomorrow night to tonight, and we will have preview of Sunday tomorrow. That was mental maths there, by the way. That was pretty good. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. My thanks to Stu and to Iain for doing an hour's reaction on a Thursday night when I know that it's well past Stu's bedtime. That's why I look so grumpy, folks. But yeah, I'm waffling now. So thank you, Stu. Thank you, Iain. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please like, please subscribe. Check the link below where you can get 63% off a 2-year subscription to NordVPN. Yes, NordVPN sponsor Rangers. They now sponsor us. So by using that link below, you help support the podcast as well. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will speak to you all very, very soon.